like tuning fork.
Donald Trump?
No, that's not Trump.
Okay.
With a seal and everything. Steal my thunder. Colonel Collins, students, friends, fellow cadets, we observe today not as a day of presentation, but as a day of learning. Learning about speech and how you can use it effectively. President John F. Kennedy was sworn into office as Commander-in-Chief on January 20th, 1961, facing a Cold War with the Soviets, America's third Asian conflict, and uncertainty at home. The American people needed a strong leader to fight the rising tide of communism, and Kennedy needed to assure the people that he was the man for the job. His first presidential address to the world left an indelible mark on the American psyche and set the tone for the next decade of progress and hardship. Kennedy's biggest challenge during his inaugural address was to convince a nation that his foreign policy would maintain the United States' position of superiority and security. Although the Cold War had become the status quo for Americans, Kennedy was able to rejuvenate patriotic fervor by demonstrating his mastery of the spoken word through effective use of dramatic pauses, three-part lists, and most importantly, well-placed rhetorical contrast. There are many techniques for using contrast effectively, but the main purpose for this rhetorical device is emphasis. A speaker can accomplish this through two general methods. Present the affirmation adjacent to its opposite, or adjacent to a lesser related affirmation. By placing the point next to its opposite, its validity is immediately apparent, as seen in this example. I do not shrink from responsibility, I welcome it. Rather than merely stating that he welcomes responsibility, Kennedy eliminates all doubt by condemning any contrary thought. Also, by using a cowardly verb like shrink, the verb welcome, as its opposite, takes on a much stronger and nobler tone than when used in normal context. Preceding an affirmation adjacent to, usually after, a lesser related truth, allows this affirmation to be held in higher regard, as seen here. We celebrate today not as a victory of party, but a celebration of freedom. Unlike the last example, these points are neither negative nor untruthful. The words victory of party are positive, but when contrasted against a celebration of freedom, the latter becomes more honorable. The simplest technique for using contrast is the contradictory statement. The contradictory statement is a short summation of a point using a negative contrasted with a positive. This is the most common type of contrast that shows up in President Kennedy's speech. Note how the positive statement in this next example stands out. The rights of man come not from the generosity of state, but from the hand of God. Whether the positive or negative word goes first in the sentence depends on which one you want your audience to resonate with. Kennedy placed God as the second object in the last example because his point was not to condemn the idea that rights come from the state, but rather to affirm that they come from God. Another technique that produces an effective contrast is to compare two opposites. This is simply making two statements, one after the other, to address two opposite points. For example, President Kennedy noted that united there is little America can do in a host of cooperative ventures. Divided there is little we can do, for we dare not meet a powerful challenge at odds and split asunder. These are two separate sentences with nothing connecting them except that united and divided are antonyms. Because this technique simply uses 2 points and neither one is given explicit favor over the other, the order is not important. President Kennedy's inaugural address is best known for the elegant antinomialies that he uses to sum up his most important points. An animatably is simply a contrasting sentence that uses a repetition of words in reverse grammatical order. Before I confuse you anymore, here is an example. Let us never negotiate out of fear, but let us never fear to negotiate. This statement not only emphasizes two important points, but it also impresses upon the audience that the speaker is witty and creative. The previous two contrasting techniques are common ways of speaking that are used in everyday language. But the grammatical reverse is rare, and when done correctly, can make a powerful impact on your audience. Be careful to use them sparingly, because they can sound cheesy or ostentatious. Contrast is a useful rhetorical device for highlighting important parts of a speech that can be easily inserted periodically to add another dimension to your presentation. President Kennedy's inaugural address borders on the extreme, with over 20 contrasting phrases in a 15-minute speech. But moderation is the key for success when using any special technique in your speeches. Let every audience know, whether you wish to speak well or ill, that you shall pay any price, bear any burden, meet any hardship, support any friend, oppose any foe, to assure that your speeches are delivered with confidence and effective use of rhetorical devices. Remember, ask not what this speech class can do for you. Ask what you can do for this speech class. Thank you.